Chosen one. Listen closely. This moment was written before time touched your skin. You were not born randomly. You were not simply added to the crowd of humanity to blend, to settle, or to survive. No, before you took your first breath. You were marked, set apart. Heaven placed something inside you that this world cannot duplicate, replicate, or destroy. This is why the storms came. This is why the warfare has been relentless. Because darkness knew you were coming. Even as a child, you noticed the difference. You saw what others overlooked. You felt what others dismissed. You were the one who couldn't sleep after sensing invisible weights in a room. You cried over burdens you couldn't name. You asked questions no one around you could answer, and they called you too sensitive, too much, too intense. But it was never too much. You were simply tuned to a higher frequency. You were never called to fit in. You were chosen to interrupt cycles, to break generational patterns, to carry light where no one else dares go. And beloved, this is the moment where heaven presses pause on everything else around you to speak directly into your spirit. You've been marked, not by accident, not by chance, but by divine order. This marking is not a symbol you wear on your skin. It is an eternal imprint upon your soul. That's why the enemy recognized you long before you recognized yourself. That's why the warfare hit your house. That's why betrayal felt like a pattern. That's why you often felt out of place even in rooms filled with people who were supposed to love you. But this pain, it was never wasted. Every heartbreak, every tear shed behind closed doors. Every night you stared at the ceiling asking God, "Why me?" It has been heard, stored, and now it is being redeemed. Your life has never been average. That's why ordinary plans cannot hold you. That's why your gifts never fit the mold. You've tried to silence yourself to protect others' comfort. You've tried to dim your light so others wouldn't feel insecure. But God is saying now, it's time to rise. You are no longer allowed to pretend you don't know who you are. There is a holy spotlight on your life. Not to entertain, but to reveal what heaven has embedded in you. That prophetic dream you had, that vision that kept repeating, that moment you randomly looked at the clock and saw 11, 11 again. That wasn't coincidence. That was alignment. God is summoning the marked ones, the hidden warriors, the quiet deliverers, the ones who walk into a room and shift its atmosphere without saying a word. You don't just carry light, you are light. And light doesn't apologize for burning. Now listen, you have tried to hide your flame to avoid warfare, but your silence does not stop hell from recognizing your rank. The demonic realm knows your name, not because of what you've done, but because of who sent you. You carry a divine assignment wrapped in flesh, and your presence alone disturbs the enemy's plans. Why else do you think your attacks came before your elevation? You were dangerous, even untrained. Imagine what happens once you wake up fully. This is your wake-up call. The world is shifting. Heaven is sending out scrolls. Missions are being released at very specific hours. 11. 11 is not aesthetics, the signal. At this appointed time, God is awakening his chosen ones. Not everyone will feel it, but those marked will not be able to deny it. You feel it in your bones, don't you? That strange stirring, that inner restlessness, that whisper that says, there is more. You felt the tugging at your spirit. You've questioned whether you're going crazy. You're not. You're awakening. And if you're hearing this right now, it's not just confirmation, it's activation. The mantle has found its match. The scroll is being opened. This message was timed. Chosen one. You are hearing your name in the Spirit. As we read in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 2 says, "When you walk through fire, you will not be burned." Not, yes, fire came, but you're still standing because God marked you fireproof. You weren't built to break. You were built to blaze. Now, I need you to do something bold. Type 1111 in the comments as a prophetic act. You're not just commenting, you're coming into alignment. You're saying to God, I see the sign, I receive the call, I choose my mission. And if this stirred your spirit, don't scroll. Like this message. Share it boldly. Subscribe if you haven't. Because this is not the end of your revelation, it's only the opening line. You've seen it too many times for it to be coincidence. That repeating number, 1111, showing up on clocks, receipts, signs, moments when your spirit feels stirred for no logical reason. At first, you thought it was random, then it kept happening, over and over, until even your silence couldn't explain it away. Chosen one. 11. 11 is not random. It is divine alignment. It is heaven's nudge. It is the gentle knocking of the Spirit on the door of your awareness, whispering, I'm speaking. Pay attention. M. When heaven wants to get your attention, it often won't. Shout it will synchronize. It will align the natural and the supernatural to meet in a moment. That's what 11 is. A summoning. A reminder that there is a time to be passive and a time to step into position. The world sees it as coincidence. Culture turns it into superstition or aesthetic. But the chosen ones know better. You've felt it in your spirit. Whenever you look up and see that number, something shifts inside you. It feels holy, even if no one else around you understands it. That's because 11 is a spiritual kodia marker in the atmosphere. It is heaven's way of saying, the veil is thin right now. Pay attention. Orders are being released. Timing is being sealed. R. Do you think it's random that you keep seeing this during moments of prayer, during seasons of pain, during windows of decision when you don't know which way to go? No. It's strategic. It's how God marks time for the marked. In the spirit realm, timing matters. Obedience delayed is still obedience denied. And God is calling his chosen ones to stop hesitating. You've asked for a sign. You've pleaded for confirmation. But you've already received it again and again. 11 is the call. The rest is response. There is a reason why this number appears in moments of pressure, because pressure precedes promotion. You are not just being reminded of alignment, you are being summoned into assignment. That's why your dreams have increased. That's why your senses feel sharper. That's why your peace is disturbed when you try to stay comfortable, because comfort is no longer your home. Calling is. And you know deep in your soul you were born for more than this. You were never made for the 9 to 5 only routine. You were not created to wake up, pay bills, numb your soul with entertainment, and repeat, there is something eternal, divine, and dangerous inside you that refuses to die quietly. Every time 11 flashes before your eyes, It's a call from heaven that says, "Wake up, chosen one. Your assignment is live. Your name is echoing in the spirit. And whether you realize it or not, angels move when you align. Battles shift when you say yes. Darkness trembles when you begin to believe." This is not about mysticism. It's about movement. Heaven is marking time because the mission has entered the earth. God is calling his remnant, those who are marked, not marketed. Those who are hidden, not hyped. Those who are surrendered, not self-glorified. 11. 11 is a spiritual code wrapped in earthly numbers, but to the awakened, it is a trumpet blast. It is a scroll being opened in the invisible. It is God saying, "The appointed hour has come. Get in position." And have you noticed how often this number appears when you're at a crossroads? That's not design, it's divine. When you are about to give up, you see it. When you're second-guessing your call, you see it. When you're on the edge of compromise, you see it. And when you finally say yes in your heart, you see it again, as if heaven is nodding in agreement. You see, heaven is not just watching you. It is waiting on you. You are not a pawn. You are a partner. And when God shows you signs, he's not playing with you. He's calling you higher. Paul reminds us in the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 6 says, "God raised us up with Christ and seated us with him in the heavenly realms." You have authority you haven't even touched yet. You are seated in realms your feet haven't even walked in yet. But your spirit has known it all along. That's why normal life feels unfulfilling. That's why even at your best, you sense there is more. It's because there is more, but more requires movement. 11. 11 is the bridge between identity and action. It is where being chosen becomes choosing to obey. It is not the beginning of your story, it is the activation point. The moment the ink dries on your yes, the hour heaven aligns and hell reacts. The portal of purpose opens, and you can either walk through it or walk away. But make no mistake, chosen one, heaven will not stop speaking. You've been called. The code has been revealed. The clock is not just ticking, it is speaking. The question is no longer, is this real? The question now is, will you respond? They saw your smile, but they never saw the war that shaped it. They praised your strength, but they didn't see the nights you collapsed behind closed doors. They admired your perseverance, yet had no clue how often you begged God for just one more breath, one more day. Chosen one. They didn't know, because they were never supposed to. Your pain wasn't for the public. It was for the promise. The attacks on your life were never random. The opposition you faced wasn't because you were weak, it was because you were marked. You've carried a target on your back from the womb. The enemy knew your future before you did. He saw the glory woven into your soul before you ever spoke a word. That's why he sent opposition early. He hoped to stop you before you discovered your authority. That's why your childhood was turbulent. That's why relationships broke before they bloomed. That's why your heart was crushed in places where love should have lived. Hell tried to fracture you before you found your fire. But what the enemy forgot is this: you don't belong to the darkness. You were born of the light. You weren't just attacked, you were assassination targeted in spirit. The enemy sent specific weapons against your mind, your body, your identity. But somehow, through it all, you're still here, still standing, still breathing, still believing. That's not luck. That's the mark at work. That's preservation from above. You've asked, why me? Why was my path so hard? Why did they hurt me like that? The answer is woven into your identity. You were never average. God didn't call you to the easy road. He called you to the narrow one, the road of the remnant, the path of the marked. Your presence alone stirs the spirit realm. That's why people treat you strangely without reason. That's why you often walk into rooms and feel heaviness before anyone says a word. Your spirit picks up what others ignore. You are discerning, not dramatic, sensitive, not weak. You feel the warfare because you were born to win it. And yet, despite every reason to give up, you didn't. Despite heartbreak, rejection, abandonment, betrayal, you stayed. You kept showing up. You kept praying. You kept hoping. You've survived seasons that should have killed you. That alone is proof. You were born for this hour. And now, the pain that once confused you is beginning to make sense. The attacks weren't punishments, they were training. The betrayal wasn't failure. It was redirection. The silence wasn't absence, it was preparation. You were being refined in fire, pressed in secret. Because what God has placed on your life isn't light, it's weighty. It carries eternal consequence. You've been kept in obscurity, not because you were forgotten, but because you were protected, hidden, not rejected, delayed, not denied. Heaven was shaping your character before revealing your crown. You are not broken. You are battle-tested. You are not too late. You are right on time. And now, your voice once still and said is becoming a weapon. Your testimony once beriadis, becoming a trumpet. Your name once dismissed is echoing in heaven's war rooms. It was declared in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10. Verse 19 says, I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions, and you have that authority right now. You are not waiting for it. You're walking in it, whether you feel it or not. That's why the pressure has increased, because your time has come. Chosen one. Hear this clearly. Your survival wasn't just for you. It was for everyone assigned to your voice, your light, your story. Your deliverance wasn't just deliverance, it was deployment. You were pulled out so you could go back in and pull others out with you. The enemy tried to write you off before you knew how to write your name in the Spirit. But God preserved your pages, and now the pen is in your hand. It's time to prophesy your return. It's time to live like the survivor you are. It's time to stop hiding and start declaring, I remember who I am. 4. That's not just a comment. It's a prophetic act. It's you stepping back into your identity. It's you shaking off the lies of the past, silencing the voice of shame, and standing in the full authority of your calling. So, write it below. Let the enemy see it. Let heaven witness it. Let your future hear it echo into the atmosphere. Comment, I remember who I am. No, you are not lost. You are rising. There is something inside you that you've barely begun to touch. A depth. A knowing. A fire that flickers quietly but refuses to go out. You've walked through dark seasons carrying a light you didn't fully understand. But that light was never random, it was a key. Yes. Chosen one. You carry a key, not one made of metal or forged by man's hands, but one crafted in the invisible, a key that doesn't open natural doors, but spiritual ones. This key is part of your DNA, It's spiritual technology placed in you by heaven long before you had language for your identity. That's why you've always been drawn to people in pain. That's why you could feel when someone in the room was broken, even if they smiled. That's why others come to you with their burdens, their secrets, their storms. Even strangers have felt safe with you. Why? Because you carry something that unlocks people. You don't just comfort. You shift. You don't just support. You release. And half the time you didn't even realize what you were doing. You spoke a word, and someone cried. You walked into a place, and tension broke. You touched a shoulder, and heaviness lifted. These are not coincidences. They are evidences. You are a doorway carrier, and the key you hold is not just for you. It is for those trapped behind the walls you've already walked through. You've been through betrayal, not just to survive it, but so you could recognize it in someone else's eyes. You've battled depression, not just to be healed, but so you'd carry authority when you say, "You're coming out of this." You fought off shame, not just for freedom, but so your voice would be sharp enough to cut others free. The key is not in your talent. It's in your scars. It's in your obedience. It's in the way you kept showing up. Even when everything inside you wanted to disappear. That is the kind of obedience heaven trusts with authority. Do you think it's an accident that people around you started healing before they knew how? That things you said lingered in their mind for years? That your presence alone brought peace into chaos? No. These are the fingerprints of a key bearer. This is more than spiritual gifting. This is a mantle, a responsibility. And now, the time has come to step into it deliberately. Because the key can no longer stay hidden. There are doors only you can open. Some of those doors are inside others. Some of them are inside you. The enemy has tried to keep you locked in shame, so you'd never reach the lock. He has whispered that you're not worthy. He's flooded your mind with insecurity, distraction, addiction, and fear. Not because he believed those things, but because he fears what happens when you stop believing them. What happens when you finally recognize that what you carry isn't weakness, it's weaponry. That your empathy isn't a flaw, it's a tool. That your tears weren't signs of defeat, they were baptisms into sensitivity. A trait required for the deliverers, the prophets, the intercessors, the kingdom builders. There are people in bondage right now, waiting for your voice to activate what's been asleep in them. And you'll recognize them, you'll sense them, because your key will vibrate when you're near their lock. You'll feel that spiritual pull. That's how you'll know. But keys were never meant to stay in pockets. They were made to be used. Your words have power. Your testimony has weight. Your presence is strategy. God placed you on this earth at this exact time because there are doors only you can open. Not pastors, not prophets. You. That's why the opposition has been fierce. That's why you've felt overlooked. Because the enemy knows, if you ever discover what you carry, systems will fall. Not just personal breakthroughs, territorial shifts. Generational curses will break. Chains will snap. Cycles will stop. Demons will flee. And it won't take a sermon. It won't take a stage. It will happen in living rooms, in quiet car rides, in one-sentence prayers that cut straight through the lies. Because when a key is right, the door can't resist it. You've wondered, why can't I settle? Why do I feel restless when things are fine? It's because heaven didn't send you here to be fine. It sent you here to free others. and your key is calibrated to bondage when you sense it. You move. This is not ego. This is not self-glorification. This is spiritual responsibility. A recognition that God placed something inside you that has eternal consequences. You didn't earn it. You were entrusted with it. So what will you do now? You can't unknow this. You've seen too much, felt too deeply, survived too fiercely. You are not just here to witness change. You are here to release it. And the key has always been in your hands. Chosen one, do you know why you've never been able to stay in environments that felt spiritually dead? Why you couldn't remain in circles that were content with mediocrity, compromise, or counterfeit peace? It's because your presence carries disruption. You were born to disturb darkness. You've walked into rooms where no one knew your name, but spirits recognized your authority. You've entered conversations where things shifted not because you forced it, but because your very energy shook the atmosphere. This is what happens when someone marked by God moves in silence. The kingdom of darkness trembles. Even before a word is spoken, you don't even realize how many rooms you've cleansed simply by stepping into them. How many demons backed off because of the light radiating from your surrendered soul. You carry something that is uncomfortable to evil. Your life, though quiet, speaks loudly in the spirit. That's why you've been misunderstood. That's why people have rejected you without clear reason. That's why certain friendships could never settle into peace. You weren't the problem, you were the purging. Your light irritated what others were trying to hide. You've wrestled with this. You've asked God, why do I repel what I'm trying to love? Why do people treat me like a threat when all I carry is compassion? The answer is painful but freeing. It's not you they're reacting to. It's what's on you. And what's on you breaks the masks off of others. Don't you see? You carry something more powerful than charm, charisma, or influence. You carry a spiritual voltage that can't be hidden behind casual living. You've tried to dim it. You've tried to blend. You've tried to be normal, just to survive. But your spirit will not allow it, because normal for others is nauseating for the chosen. You are not called to fit into the world. You are called to set it ablaze with the truth. And truth, beloved, always disturbs. Lise, you've walked through battles most couldn't endure. But it wasn't just about endurance, it was about resistance. You didn't just survive the fire, you learned how to carry it. And now, everywhere you go, it burns, not to destroy, but to refine, not to tear down, but to purge the atmosphere. Have you noticed how fake conversations die in your presence? How manipulation weakens when you show up? How spiritual fog seems to clear when you speak with authenticity? That is not imagination. That is impact. It's the kind of impact that exposes counterfeits and invites truth. God has not hidden you because you're unworthy. He has hidden you because you're dangerous to the enemy's blueprint. You carry a signal, a divine frequency, that exposes, uproots, and dismantles the devil's architecture simply by walking in your anointing. This is why people have left you. It's why certain doors never opened. It's why others couldn't journey with you. God didn't allow attachments that would contaminate the purity of your assignment. You are not just carrying fire. You are called to steward it. Paul reminds us in the book of Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 11 says, "Have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them." Lock and chosen one. Your very existence is an exposure, not by intention, simply by design. You didn't ask for this level of spiritual tension, but it comes with your call. Because God doesn't assign soft light to dark territory. He sends fire. He sends disruptors. He sends people like you. People who cannot stomach injustice. People who feel God's heart for the broken. People who cry out for others in private. People who worship in their wounds. People who carry the fire and the fear of the Lord. You may not have a pulpit, but your walk is prophetic. Your silence is warfare. Your very being is a rebuke to complacency. And now, more than ever, this world needs the kind of light that terrifies the enemy. The kind you carry. So don't dim. Don't heed. Don't apologize. Let the fire do what it was created to do: disrupt darkness. Chosen one. If this stirred something deep in you, then you already know this word wasn't just for your ears. It was written for your spirit. It is heaven's reminder that you're not just walking through life, you're walking in divine warfare. And every step you take shakes the ground beneath the enemy's feet. If this message confirmed what your soul has already been sensing, then don't stay silent. Like this message. Share it with someone else who needs to awaken. And if you haven't already, subscribe to stay connected to these prophetic alignments. Because this isn't the end. It's only the beginning of what's being unlocked. You were born to disrupt the darkness. At exactly 11:11. Something in the atmosphere shifts. It doesn't look dramatic to the natural eye. The clock ticks. The moment passes. The world keeps moving. But in the realm of the spirit, something descends invisible to most, but undeniable to the ones who are marked, chosen one. Your new mission has arrived. It doesn't crash in with lightning. It settles like a divine seal-weighty donk. Quiet. Sure. Like heaven breathing over your destiny again. Whispering, now. You felt the build-up for weeks. Maybe months. That tension between what is and what's coming. That sense that something was shifting, but you couldn't name it. That restlessness you couldn't explain. That sense of urgency you couldn't escape. You've been carrying spiritual pregnancy. And now what? The appointed time, the instruction comes. 11. 11 is not a coincidence. It's not a number trend. It's a spiritual appointment. A time when heaven aligns what's invisible with what's physical, and when it comes, it doesn't just bring signs, it brings assignments. In this hour, God isn't asking for spiritual entertainment. He's not asking for half-hearted worship or surface-level obedience. He's commissioning warriors, sending scrolls, activating dormant mantles. And the reason it's hitting you so hard right now is because your name is on one of those scrolls. This mission isn't general. It's not vague. It's specific to you. It's been written with your voice, your pain, your gifts, your scars in mind. It fits your life like a divine blueprint. That's why everything that didn't match your calling began to fall away. The delay, strategic. The silence, intentional. The stripping, necessary. All of it was preparing you for this moment. You couldn't have received this mantle in your last season. You weren't ready yet. Not because you weren't chosen, but because you hadn't been prepared. But now, you've been refined in fire. Now, you recognize God's voice in the stillness. You obey, even when it costs. You worship, even when it hurts. Now, heaven can trust you. This mission may not look impressive to the world. It may not involve crowds, microphones, or platforms, but in the spirit, it's explosive. Because obedience is the weapon, and when a chosen one fully yields, territories shift. Some of you are being called into hidden intercession, some into prophetic writing, some into street ministry, some into building, praying, planting, breaking, pioneering, fasting. But all of you are being called into alignment. The 11:11 hour isn't about hype. It's about holy instruction. God is reassigning his people, and the ones who obey without needing explanation, those are the ones who will carry the next wave of glory. You've been asking God to speak, but the question isn't whether he's speaking. The question is, are you listening? You already know the next step. You just needed the confirmation, and here it is. The burden is not random. The pull is not emotional. The fire in your bones is not self-created. It is assignment. It is calling. It is heaven's way of saying, I'm moving. Come with me. Then there is no more room for delay. When heaven releases a scroll, hell reacts immediately. You've likely already felt the resistance, the confusion, the fatigue, the random distractions. But don't be fooled. Those are not signs to stop. They're proof that you're near something holy. You're not just hearing this message. You're receiving an impartation. Something in your spirit is leaping right now, not because of hype, but because truth has arrived. Deep is calling unto deep, and chosen one. When you obey this next step, you won't be walking alone. Angelic assistance will follow your yes. Doors will open not because of your skill, but because of your surrender. Provision will appear because he sent you, not because you promoted yourself. What's descending on you at this hour isn't just a task, it's a mantle. And mantles carry responsibility, but they also carry glory. This is what you were born for. You've been trusted with mystery. You've been handed something sacred. And now, God is watching for your response. So pause. Breathe. Let this moment sink in. And then, as a public act of agreement, not for me, not for views, but as a prophetic declaration into the spiritual realm, type the number 1111 in the comments. That's not just a comment. It's a signature. It's you saying, I see the sign. I hear the voice. I accept the mission. Andrew, and heaven sees it. Heaven takes it seriously, because at this very moment, your new mission descends. Obedience is not a word we often celebrate. In a world obsessed with freedom, independence, and self-expression, obedience feels like confinement. But chosen one, in the kingdom of God, obedience is not slavery. It is alignment. It is the divine link between the revelation you receive and the power you walk in. This new mission descending into your life is glorious, but it is also costly, and you must understand the cost. Not because God wants you afraid, but because heaven trusts you enough to tell you the truth. Obedience will require everything. You can no longer obey God with your lips only. The time for half-hearted surrender is over. This mission requires a level of devotion that will make your flesh scream and your soul expand. You will lose things. You will lose people. You will lose comfort. But you will gain power, clarity, authority, and a closeness with God that nothing on this earth can touch. Obedience is not about hearing a word and clapping for it. It's about changing because of it. About walking away from what you once called normal to step into what God calls divine. And here's the hard part: obedience often requires sacrifice before reward. God will tell you to leave things that once felt like home. He will instruct you to let go of relationships that seem harmless. He will call you into silent seasons where applause disappears and validation vanishes. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. Because what He's placing on your life is holy, and He refuses to build a throne on a foundation of compromise. Some of your greatest testing will not come through attack, but through decision. Will you obey even when it doesn't make sense? Will you obey when no one else sees what you see? Will you obey when it costs you your reputation, your comfort, even your plans? This is not dramatic. This is biblical. Abraham was told to leave his country without knowing the destination. Noah was told to build a boat before rain had ever fallen. Esther had to risk death to save her people. Mary had to birth glory through scandal. And Jesus, He obeyed unto death. The cost is high, but the reward unspeakable. You will gain clarity that confuses the wise, peace that makes no sense in the natural, strength that sustains you in warfare. And the most important thing of all, He will trust you with more. Many want anointing, few want obedience, but the two are inseparable. The oil flows where the altar is, and altars are built through surrender. You've already been through pain. You've already faced betrayal, rejection, and loss. But now comes the part most won't talk about, the part where God asks you to lay something down voluntarily. Not the thing He took, the thing you love. Maybe it's the career you idolized, the version of success you imagined, the relationship that feels safe but doesn't align. Maybe it's the version of yourself that pleases people more than it pleases God. The call now is not just to believe, but to obey. And no, it won't always make sense to those around you. In fact, it may offend some, because obedience makes you move differently. Suddenly, you're unavailable for gossip, compromise, and spiritual laziness. Suddenly, you have boundaries. You don't follow trends, you follow the cloud. And yes, some people will distance themselves. Let them. They were never assigned to your next chapter. You're not abandoning them, you're obeying God. And He knows how to deal with those who misunderstand your obedience. But obedience isn't just about saying no to the wrong things. It's about saying yes to the uncomfortable, the unfamiliar, the supernatural. God may send you to speak where your voice shakes, to build where you've never led, to pray for people who once mocked you. You'll feel the weight of it. You'll feel the fire of it. But you will also feel the glory of it. Because when you obey, heaven moves. Doors open that no man can shut. The right people find you. Resources appear. And most importantly, you step into divine flower, rhythm of grace and power that can't be mimicked, marketed, or manufactured. This mission requires obedience, not because God is harsh, but because what He's entrusting you with is holy. If you treat it casually, it won't carry weight. If you protect it with reverence, it will unlock generations. So ask yourself now, what has God already told you to do that you've delayed? What have you postponed, negotiated, or ignored because it didn't make sense? This is not the season to hesitate. It's the season to obey. The cost may be high, but the call is higher. And chosen one, you were never called to live easy. You were called to live, set apart. You've always known something was different about you. Long before you understood what it meant to be chosen, you felt it. That unshakable awareness that your life wasn't random, that you weren't here just to exist, to blend, to repeat the same patterns, generation after generation. There's always been this quiet sense in your soul. You were born for something more. But what you may not realize is that your very awakening is not just about you, it's about others. Because chosen one, you are a walking alarm clock in the spirit. Your life, your presence, your awakening is a signal. You were never meant to sleep through destiny. And your rising now is meant to wake others up. This is why your journey has been so heavy, why your process has felt slow, why your spiritual sensitivity seemed more like a burden than a blessing. Because while others were living on autopilot, you were being fine-tuned. While others were numbing their pain, you were learning to discern. While others were entertained, you were being educated in the silence of the Spirit. You have become a sign to those around you, even if they don't understand it yet. Your life is a living message. Your decision to heal, to grow, to obey, to burn with purpose, it doesn't just affect you, it activates others. The moment you said yes to the stirring in your soul, the ripple effect began. There are people watching your obedience in secret. Some will never say a word, but your transformation is preaching louder than 1,000 sermons. It's not about perfection. It's about presence. You carry something now, something that shakes sleeping spirits around you, something that convicts without condemning, something that calls others into awakening just by being near you. God designed it this way. Your fire is contagious, and heaven knew it. That's why the enemy tried to distract you for so long. That's why delay, depression, fear, addiction, and confusion fought so hard to keep you numb, because he knew if you ever woke up, others would too. Because you're not just a receiver of revelation, you're a trigger of transformation. Think about it. How many people have been drawn to your light even when you were still in the middle of your own healing? How many have asked for advice, for prayer, for presence because something in you made them feel safe? How many have said, I don't know why, but I feel peace around you? It's not your personality. It's not just kindness. It's not even just wisdom. It's your spirit, fully alive. And when your spirit is awake, it confronts the slumber in others. You are a carrier of divine wake-up calls, and your life is proof that obedience is possible, that restoration is real, that surrender leads to purpose. Some people around you won't understand it. They'll mislabel you. They'll try to pull you back into the slumber. But don't go back. Don't dim your light to make others comfortable in the dark. You were not made to blend. You were made to blaze. This walk will cost you. Yes, but it will also ignite others. You'll start to notice it more and more. People suddenly becoming hungry for more. People confessing things out of nowhere. People starting to ask questions about truth, purpose, identity. They're not randomly curious. They're being activated by your obedience. Because when a chosen one wakes up, others begin to stir. When a forerunner rises, it opens the atmosphere. When one breaks through, many follow. That's the weight you carry now, not of pressure, but of purpose. This is why you must guard your flame, not out of fear, but out of honor. The enemy would love nothing more than to distract you now that you're awake. But distractions are no longer just about your own delay. They're about robbing others of what your life is supposed to unlock. You are not just a chosen one. You are a spiritual signal. When you walk into rooms, spiritual timelines accelerate. Heaven leans in. Demons take notice. And people begin to wake up. This is why your fire must stay lit. You don't have to preach. Just live. You don't have to be loud. Just burn. Because those around you, even the ones who pretend not to notice, they will feel it. And some of them will awaken because you obeyed when it was hard. You are a walking alarm clock in a world full of sleepers. And the time is now. There comes a point in the life of every chosen one where delay becomes disobedience, and hesitation becomes spiritual danger. You've been circling this mountain long enough, wrestling with your call, wrestling with your own voice, asking God for confirmation when what you really need is courage. This is that moment. The moment where destiny doesn't ask, it demands. You've been marked. You've been chosen. You've been awakened. But now you must respond, not just with belief, not just with tears, but with action. Because agreement in the Spirit requires a physical step. You've felt it for years, maybe since childhood. That strange separation, that unspoken difference. You couldn't blend in, no matter how hard you tried. You couldn't settle, no matter how easy it seemed. That wasn't rebellion. That was God's hand. He was guarding your fire even when you didn't understand it. He was preserving your purity even when you didn't protect it. He was calling you before you even knew how to answer. But now you do. Now your ears are open. Now your heart is ready. Now your spirit says, enough wandering, enough shrinking, enough delay. Because something inside you is standing up. You're not the same person you were last year. You're not even the same person you were last week. The shell is breaking. The fire is rising. The lion in you is starting to roar. And every part of hell that tried to bury you is about to regret that it couldn't. This moment isn't about hype. It's about decision. And heaven is watching for yours. You've carried the weight of this call in silence. You've questioned yourself in private. You've survived attacks that never even made sense to your mind, but your soul knew why. Because the warfare was proof that your obedience would be dangerous. You've been fought because of what you carry. You've been resisted because of what you're called to release. This is the moment where you stop rehearsing your pain and start prophesying your position. You are not in a pit. You are in a pivot. You are not in delay. You are in development. And now, the breaking becomes birthing. There is no more room for confusion. No more space for insecurity. No more tolerating spiritual amnesia. You were not created to question your existence. You were created to shift the earth. When you walk in your authority, things begin to align. Not just for you, but for everyone assigned to your obedience. Because your call is not personal, it's generational. Your breakthrough isn't just about your freedom. It's about everyone watching you silently from the sidelines, wondering if God still speaks, wondering if obedience still matters, wondering if they can rise, too. And when they see you rise, they'll know they can. That's the mantle. That's the responsibility. That's why you can't go back to being silent. Heaven is pulling on your spirit like never before. You've seen the signs, heard the whispers, felt the weight. But this is not about more signs. This is about your yes. The enemy's goal was never just to attack your peace. It was to silence your movement, to keep you thinking about rising, but never actually doing it. Because he knows that once you stand, Realignment begins. Chains break. Cycles shatter. Legacies shift. You don't need another prophecy. You are the prophecy. You don't need another open door. You are the key. And what's required of you right now is not perfection. It's not knowledge. It's response. And so, chosen one, in this sacred moment say it. Speak it. Let the realm of the Spirit hear you. Let every delay know you're done waiting. Let every leak crumble beneath your feet. Say it, I rise right now. Say it until fear trembles. Say it until shame evaporates. Say it until every part of you stands to attention. Then, go to the comments and write it with faith like a warrior, stamping the ground with purpose. Comment, I rise right now. This is your line in the sand. The line between survival and surrender. Between questioning and declaring. Between being overwhelmed and becoming unshakable. This is not the end. This is the ignition. And that one sentence is more than just words. It's a declaration of war against everything that's ever tried to keep you small. Comment, I rise right now, because the earth is waiting, because heaven is watching, and because you are ready. You've crossed a line, and something in the realm of the Spirit knows it. No more playing small. No more bargaining with your calling. No more apologizing for what you carry. Chosen one. Now that you've risen, you've entered the season of revelation. And once you step into this dimension, nothing stays the same. You've been given glimpses, divine flashes, dreams, visions, unshakable impressions in your spirit. Maybe you've dismissed them. Maybe you've doubted them. But God hasn't, because those glimpses weren't random. They were scrolls being opened, blueprints from heaven being revealed to your spirit in pieces, waiting for your obedience to unlock more. You're not just in a new season. You're standing in front of a heavenly archive. And now, the scroll with your name on it is being unsealed. This is why the warfare intensified recently. This is why sleep has been disturbed. Why clarity has collided with confusion. Why you felt the urgency, but couldn't explain it. Because when scrolls open, resistance rises. But so does revelation. What you couldn't see clearly before will begin to take shape. You'll begin to hear in prayer what once felt silent. Scriptures that once seemed still will start speaking. Strategies will come in downloads. Divine instructions will feel like sudden intuition. But it's not intuition, it's alignment. God is revealing secrets to his servants. And chosen one. That includes you. The world doesn't understand this kind of access. It thinks divine wisdom is reserved for prophets behind pulpits. But God is breaking the system. He's revealing mysteries to the hidden ones, those who worship in their wounds, those who obey without applause, those who don't need spotlight to be faithful. You, because you are trusted, not because of your perfection, but because of your surrender. You didn't quit when it got hard. You didn't curse God when the silence was long. You didn't abandon your post when everyone else did. And now, you're not just being healed, you're being handed revelation. Chosen one. You're about to see what others miss. You're about to know what doesn't make sense on paper. You're about to speak with boldness that pierces through fog. Because when God gives revelation, it doesn't just inform, it transforms. And this is important. Revelation is not given for status. It is given for stewardship. What you're being shown is not for gossip, debate, or self-promotion. It is for building, breaking, birthing, and battling. This revelation may come with loneliness. Be ready for that, because when you begin to walk in wisdom beyond your years, you will confuse those still asleep. When you see from heaven's perspective, earthly logic will try to mock you, but stay steady. Revelation has never made sense to the crowd. Noah looked foolish, building the ark. Elijah looked mad, calling down fire. Mary looked scandalous, carrying promise. But all of them were walking out a scroll that had been sealed for them. And now you are too. The instructions won't always be loud. Sometimes they'll be quiet nudges. A place you're supposed to go. A person you're meant to pray for. A dream you need to write down. A message you feel led to speak. Don't ignore them. These are sacred assignments sent in whispers. You're not imagining it. That pull in your spirit, that tug when you're near someone heavy, that urgency in prayer when nothing looks urgent, that's because your spirit is now aligned to divine frequency. You are no longer just reacting to life, you are receiving from the throne room. Revelation is heaven's answer to earthly chaos. And you are now a carrier of those answers. Some will ignore you. Some will resist you. Some will try to figure you out. Don't get distracted. Stay connected to the source, not the response. You weren't sent to be liked. You were sent to reveal light. You weren't sent to impress. You were sent to pierce darkness. And when you speak from revelation, atmospheres will respond. Hidden demons will surface. Dormant gifts in others will activate. Whole environments will shift not because of who you are, but because of what's flowing through you. This is why you must protect your clarity. Be careful what you consume. Be mindful who you allow close. Protect your spirit like it's carrying gold, because it is. What God is revealing to you is sacred intelligence, and how you respond to it now determines what comes next. If this message has stirred something in your spirit, if your heart has burned with clarity and fire, then you already know this isn't entertainment. This is activation. So don't scroll past it like another video. Like this message. Share it with someone you know is waking up. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. Stay connected to the stream of revelation God is pouring out, not just here, but into you. This is your scroll. This is your season. And now, your eyes are opening. There's a sacred mystery in isolation that most people never understand. The world calls it loneliness. The soul calls it abandonment. But the spirit, your spirit, recognizes it as preparation. Chosen one. Your isolation was never punishment. It was the consecration before your release. Every silent season you endured. Every friend who walked away. Every door that closed without explanation. None of it was accidental. God was pulling you away to pull you in. You weren't being rejected by the world. You were being reserved by heaven. Yes, it hurt. The confusion, the silence, the ache of invisibility. You watched others be celebrated while you were hidden, watched people rise while you remained unseen. You questioned your value, wondered if you missed something, asked God if he forgot you. But the truth is, he was covering you. God hides his weapons before he uses them. He conceals his vessels before he reveals them. Before David ruled, he was left in fields. Before Moses delivered a nation, he was exiled in obscurity. Before Esther saved her people, she was prepared in silence. And before Jesus stepped into public power, he spent years in hiddenness, growing, resisting, learning, praying. You are no different. Your hidden years were not wasted years. They were foundational years. God wasn't delaying you, He was developing you. And He loved you too much to release you prematurely. In the hidden place, your motives were purified. Your faith was stretched. Your character was tested. And most of all, your ear was trained to hear His voice in the absence of applause. You learned how to follow whispers instead of crowds. You learned to pray in silence, worship in wilderness, and wait with patience while your flesh screamed for movement. You learned to be sustained by God, alone, not platforms, not praise, not performance. Because, chosen one, the stage you're being prepared for isn't built with lights and cameras. It's built with weight, spiritual gravity. And gravity is forged in solitude. The ones who carry the most glory are often those who've been through the deepest seasons of isolation, because in the hidden place, God removes what man can't. He cuts away pride. He confronts fear. He rewrites identity. And that's what He was doing in you. The reason the wilderness was so dry wasn't because God was absent. It was because He was watching how you would respond when He wasn't obvious. Would you still worship? Would you still obey? Would you still believe when your prayers echoed back in silence? You did. And that's why you're still here. That's why the next doors are beginning to open. Not because of your talent, but because of your trustworthiness. You didn't run when it got hard. You didn't walk away when no one clapped. You stayed. And now, the season is shifting. The same silence that felt like abandonment will soon be remembered as the place of your awakening. Because when God hides you, it's not to punish you, it's to form you into a weapon darkness can't predict. Had you gone public too early, you might have crumbled under pressure. Had you been seen too soon, you might have started performing for people instead of obeying God. But now, you've been refined. Now, your ears are tuned. Now, you can discern false from true, holy from hype, calling from clout. You've learned to live without the noise. And now, you carry something undeniably real. This is why you're stepping into a new posture. Not loud, not chauve, but anchored. You know now that silence doesn't mean weakness. It means strength under control, obedience without audience, fire without frenzy. And that's what makes you dangerous to hell. Because when a chosen one comes out of isolation, they come out carrying glory. You are about to be seen, but not for the reasons the world taught you to chase. You're about to be seen because the timing is right. The foundation is strong, and the fire has been tested, and those who once overlooked you, they'll wonder where this version of you came from. But it was always there. It was just being prepared in secret. God has never been after your speed. He's been after your depth. And your time in the hidden place has made you deep enough to carry what He's about to pour. So walk boldly, but humbly. You're not emerging to impress. You're emerging to release. Release what you've learned. Release what you've carried. Release what's been forming in the silence all along. This is not your unveiling for attention. It's your reintroduction with authority. Because your isolation was not the end. It was your womb. And now you're coming forth. You've been patient. You've stayed faithful when it didn't make sense. You've prayed without answers, obeyed without applause, and believed even when the evidence disappeared. And now you've stepped into alignment. Chosen one. You may not feel different, but the heavens know it. Something has snapped into place in the spirit. A new level of clarity is settling into your mind. Your heart is more anchored. Your spirit is more alert. You are starting to see the world, not through fear but through fire. You've crossed into a divine intersection. The timing, the tests, the tears, the weight in it wasn't random. It was prophetic positioning. And now, every step you take is echoing louder in the spirit realm. This is not just another day. This is not just another message. This is a marked moment, because you're no longer wandering. You're walking with intent. The fog has lifted. The confusion is fading. And while the battles haven't stopped, you are not the same soldier you were in the last season. You're no longer asking, "Why me?" You're starting to declare, "Use me, emsing," and that changes everything. You're not just awake, you're aligned. And with alignment comes acceleration. Doors that resisted you before will start to open, not because you forced them, but because you're finally walking in spiritual rhythm. Favor flows where alignment exists. Authority falls where obedience has been tested. Heaven doesn't bless, potentially bless position. You are in position now. This is why the resistance has shifted. The enemy sees the alignment. He knows what happens when a chosen one stops second-guessing. He knows how dangerous you become when you no longer need consensus, applause, or approval to obey. He fears the one who knows who they are and walks in it anyway. And that is exactly who you are becoming. There is something different about you now. Not just a glower governing. You're not just carrying anointing. You're carrying spiritual order. And when you walk into places, atmospheres start submitting to the spirit you carry. This is what alignment does. It sharpens your discernment. It silences unnecessary noise. It attracts divine assignments. It accelerates hidden prophecies. There were things spoken over your life years ago that never came to pass, not because they were false, but because the timing wasn't ready, and neither were you. But now you're in alignment. And those delayed prophecies are starting to stir again. Things you forgot are resurfacing. Words you shelved are returning with power. Not because you're chasing them, but because they are chasing you. The word reminds us in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3 says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come." Chosen one. You've waited. You've warred. And now, the appointed time has arrived. This is why you've been feeling that pull in your spirit. That restlessness isn't frustration, it's spiritual labor. You're about to give birth to what's been growing in secret. And not just one thing, multiple things. Dreams, assignments, revelations, relationships, opportunities. You're not just aligned for one moment, you're aligned for a movement. And every movement has a sound. It has a voice. It has a rhythm. It has a number, a symbol of heaven's fingerprint on a moment in time. And right now, that number is 1111. You've seen it. You've felt it. You've been drawn to it. And that's not by chance. It's God's coded way of saying, now, step in. Align. Respond. End quote. So let this be your moment of agreement, not just in private, but in the open. Comment 1111. Type it like you mean it. Type it like it marks the end of your wandering, like it seals your surrender, like it opens the scroll of your next assignment. Let that number be more than just digits on a screenlet. it be a prophetic declaration, because you're not stepping forward empty-handed. You're stepping forward aligned. You are no longer hoping to find your place. You've become the place where heaven meets earth. So walk with your head high. Speak with fire. Move with precision. And never again let your feet drift where your spirit doesn't belong. This is your hour of alignment. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right on time. Comment 1111, because heaven is watching, and the earth is about to feel the impact of your yes. You spent so much of your life hidden, buried beneath expectations, silence, and misunderstanding. Not because you were weak, not because you weren't ready, but because God was keeping you covered. There were seasons where it felt like everyone else was being launched, chosen, and celebrated. You watched others walk through open doors while you sat behind closed ones, questioning your worth. You wondered why your name wasn't being called, why your voice was being overlooked, why your gift sat unused. But the truth is far deeper than rejection. The truth is you were hidden for a reason. Heaven doesn't hide what is worthless. It hides what is holy. God never conceals things He plans to discard. He conceals what He's preparing to reveal in power. You were hidden because your presence was too valuable to release prematurely. You're not just an answer. You're a timed answer. Your life has always been about timing. If you had stepped into visibility too early, you would have misused your voice. If the crowd had clapped before you were rooted, their praise might have become your idol. If you had been elevated before you were healed, your trauma would have leaked onto everything God tried to bless. So instead of promoting you, God protected you. He wrapped you in layers of delay and silence in order to punish you, but to preserve you. Like Moses in the reeds, like David in the cave, like Joseph in the prison, like Jesus in the tomb, there is a sacred pattern to divine hiding. And you have walked it well. What you thought was stagnation was actually refinement. What you called loneliness was actually strategy. And while the world couldn't see you, heaven was watching every moment. Your prayers didn't fall into empty air. Your tears didn't go unnoticed. Your obedience didn't fade into irrelevance. You were being trained in the hidden place, trained to hear God without needing noise, trained to obey without a crowd, trained to stand alone, so that one day, when it's time to stand before many, your character won't collapse under the weight of visibility. The hidden place stripped away what couldn't follow you into your calling. It burned out people-pleasing. It broke insecurity. It shattered pride. It confronted fear. And now, you're emerging not as a celebrity, but as a servant with fire in their eyes. Not loud, but loaded. Not desperate for attention, but anchored in truth. The world may ask, where did they come from? But heaven knows exactly where you've been in the secret place, being refined in silence, built in obscurity, and formed by the very hand of God. There's a difference between being overlooked by man and being hidden by God. Man may not have seen your process, but God was present for every part of it. And now, as the veil lifts, you will carry something no platform or program can replicate. Wait. Wait in your words. Wait in your presence. Wait in your prayers. Wait in your obedience. And that weight will crush the enemy's schemes, not because you scream louder than others, but because you were forged deeper than most. There is no need to announce yourself. Heaven will do that. When God is ready to reveal someone, He does it in such a way that no man can claim credit, no platform can take the glory, and no devil can shut the door. You've been preserved, not forgotten, protected, not passed over, because what you carry is too potent to be mishandled, too sacred to be squandered, too timely to be released prematurely. And now the time has come. You will no longer have to knock down doors that were never meant to open. Now, doors will swing wide without explanation, because the one who kept you hidden is now bringing you forward. But you will walk through them differently, not eager, not insecure, not disparity, but holy, grounded, steady, because your time in the cave taught you who you are without applause, and that is what makes you unstoppable. So walk humbly, speak with fire, love deeply, move in silence, trust the pace of heaven, and never again apologize for the years you spent in the shadows. Those years were not wasted. They were the womb of your authority. And now, chosen one, the hidden is becoming the revealed. The silenced is becoming the voice. The buried is becoming the root. And the root is becoming the tree that will bear eternal fruit. You've been marked not just to see, not just to know, but to speak. Your voice has always carried something sacred even before you understood it. That's why it's been under attack since the beginning. Why your words have been misunderstood, silenced, twisted, or dismissed. The enemy knew what you didn't. Your voice breaks spells. You were never called to be quiet. You were never created to be mute in the face of darkness. The light you carry is not just in your presence, it's in your words. And when you speak, something shifts. Not because you're loud, but because you're anointed. Even in childhood, you spoke truth others weren't ready to hear. You called out what others ignored. You named things in the spirit before you had language for what you were sensing. And people told you to be quiet, to stay in your place, to tone it down. They weren't correcting rebellion, they were reacting to revelation. Your voice makes the invisible uncomfortable. Your voice calls hidden things into the light. Your voice tears through deception like a sword, not because you want attention, but because your spirit is aligned with truth. The world is built on illusion systems designed to numb, blind, distract, and distort. But God has placed a breaker anointing on your tongue. When you speak what He puts in you, you don't just communicate, you confront. You don't just comfort, you correct the course of everything around you. That's why you felt warfare around speaking. Every time you tried to use your voice, resistance rose up. You were met with silence, shame, or backlash. You internalized that attack and started to believe the lie. Maybe my voice isn't needed. But that was hell's goal, all along, to mute you before you matured. Because once you realize what your voice carries, you become dangerous. Your words are not empty. They carry oil. They carry insight. They carry God's tone. When you speak in obedience, it's as though heaven itself steps into the room. Have you ever said something and watched someone freeze like they were struck in the heart? Have you ever spoken a simple truth and watched the whole atmosphere change? Have people ever come to you for advice, but ended up crying under conviction? That's not you being smart. That's not psychology. That's not influence. That's anointing. And when you finally understand this, you stop doubting yourself and start obeying quickly. Because silence in a time of spiritual warfare isn't humility, it's disobedience. You were not given a voice to keep it buried under fear, trauma, or intimidation. You were given a voice to shake what needs to fall and call forth what needs to rise. This doesn't mean everyone will receive it. In fact, many won't. Some will walk away. Some will mock you. Some will challenge your authority. Let them. You were never sent to appease. You were sent to announce the shift, to announce the truth, to announce the kingdom. And yes, you will have to war for your voice, because every prophetic voice must be forged through opposition. But opposition will not prevail if you stay grounded. Your power is not in how loudly you speak, it's in how deeply you've been processed. Every silent season you endured gave your words weight. Every heartbreak that didn't destroy you added oil to your speech. Every tear you sowed in private has become authority in your tone. This is why the enemy fears your release. Because when you open your mouth now, it's not just air, it's fire. You're not just saying words, you're dislodging strongholds. You're not trying to convince, you're commanding what has to bow. And you won't always need a platform. In fact, your most powerful moments will happen in private space whispers, in prayer. Soft declarations over your home. One conversation that shifts someone's life forever. Because your voice is not just a sound, it's a sword. So protect it. Sanctify it. Use it with reverence. Let your words be full of light, full of weight, full of truth. Don't speak from bitterness, speak from fire. Don't speak to impress, speak to ignite. Don't speak to echo the world, speak to release heaven. God has not entrusted you with volume. He's entrusted you with vibrationa, spiritual resonance that breaks what needs breaking and births what needs birthing. So stop holding back. Stop questioning what you know you're meant to release. Stop silencing yourself to keep others comfortable. This world doesn't need another echo. It needs a voice, and chosen one. That voice is yours. There's a sound rising from the earth. And it's not coming from platforms or stages, it's coming from the hidden ones. The ones who have been refined in silence, buried in prayer, and awakened by fire. Chosen one. Your voice is part of that sound. You are not just a listener of truth, you are a carrier of it. And now, heaven is calling you to sound the trumpet. This is not a trumpet of noise. This is a trumpet of warfare. Announcement. Awakening. When a trumpet sounds in the spirit, it doesn't just make a noise, it activates an army. And right now, you are not being asked to stay silent. You are being summoned to release your voice with purpose, boldness, and precision. You've been refined. You've been proven. You've passed tests in the dark that no one else saw. And now, God is not just speaking to you, He is speaking through you. What you carry must be released. Because your obedience is no longer about personal breakthrough, it's about generational shift. When you speak, people will awaken. When you post, the atmosphere will shift. When you pray, chains will break, not just in your life, but in the lives of others connected to your sound. You are no longer carrying potential. You are carrying impact. And with that impact comes responsibility. This is why your process has taken time. This is why the pressure increased before your release. Because God wasn't just giving you a message, He was making you into one. And now, the sound that's rising from your life is going to echo far beyond your voice. It will echo through what you share. It will echo through how you show up. It will echo through every post, every prayer, every moment of obedience. Your silence has spoken long enough. Now it's time to be heard. You don't need a crowd. You need courage. You don't need to go viral. You need to go deep. Because what's happening now is not about numbers. It's about alignment. And as you obey, God is breathing on everything connected to your yes. Oh, this isn't just another emotional moment. This is a divine convergence. You are being asked to move in step with heaven, to open your mouth when He says, speak, to stretch your hand when He says, release, to share what He stirs in your spirit even if it scares you. Because your fire is not just for you. It's a signal. It's a torch in the dark for someone else. It's a light that marks the path for those still trying to find their way. You may think no one's watching, that your words don't matter, that your obedience is small. But in the kingdom, there is no such thing as small obedience. Heaven records every word spoken in truth, every act done in secret, every share, every comment, every declaration posted not for attention, but in faith. God sees the hidden evangelist in you, the intercessor behind the keyboard, the prophet behind the screen, the warrior in the quiet room who has chosen to believe that light still wins. So, don't hold back now. Chosen one. Like this message, if it resonated with your spirit, share it with someone who needs to remember they are called. Subscribe if you haven't. Yet, this is not the end of what God is revealing. It's just the beginning. And most importantly, drop a comment below. Even one word, even one emoji, even one sentence that says, I'm here, I'm awake, I'm moving forward. Not for the algorithm, for the atmosphere. Let the enemy know that silence has broken. Let the heavens record your response. Let your comment become a marker in time that says, I won't go back. I won't hide. I choose to obey. Because what you engage with prophetically, you agree with spiritually. Let your engagement become an act of spiritual warfare. This is more than content. This is a clarion call, and you are not watching it by mistake. God is confirming what He already told you. Your voice matters. Your sound is needed. And now your trumpet is being heard. So let it ring louder than fear. Let it ring louder than the doubt you once carried. Let it shake off every label, every old version of you that thought you weren't enough. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and let your obedience become the spark that lights fires in others. Because revival never starts with crowds. It starts with one voice who refuses to stay quiet. Let that voice be yours. There is a kind of peace that doesn't make sense, not the kind handed out by comfortable circumstances, but the kind born in the middle of battle. You've tasted that peace, the peace that passes understanding because you've walked through what should have broken you. You've carried storms on the inside while still speaking life to others. You've stood in the fire without losing your worship. And that's not normal. That's evidence of the mark. Chosen one. You were born to endure what others can't because you carry what others don't. There is something unshakable about you, not because you've been spared from trials, but because you've been sustained through them. You've learned how to stand when nothing else around you stands with you. You've learned how to walk forward without clarity, to praise without answers, to believe without signs. This endurance wasn't given to you by personality. It was forged. Forged in the quiet. Forged in the pressure. Forged in the space where no one else could see you. but heaven was watching. You have not just been tested, you've been tempered. And what you carry now cannot be stolen, because it was not handed to you casually. It was earned in obedience, pain, waiting, and surrender. No man gave it to you, so no man can take it away. This is why the atmosphere around you is different. You don't chase it. It follows you. You don't force doors. They respond to your presence, not because you seek influence, but because you carry weight, spiritual weight, divine proof that heaven has trusted you with something eternal. People sense it even if they don't know what it is. They may be drawn to you or threatened by you, but either way, they're responding to the same thing, the seal of God. And that seal is not flashy. It's holy. It doesn't beg for recognition. It flows in power, even in silence. And as you walk deeper into this next chapter, you must understand, your life is no longer just a story. It's a message. Every scar is a scripture. Every tear has been collected. Every battle has a name. And all of it is speaking louder than you know. You've become a living testimony. And while others may never understand the depth of what you carry, heaven knows. The angels assigned to your life know. Hell knows. And it's why your next steps matter more than ever before. This is not the time to revert, not the time to minimize your mantle, not the time to shrink for anyone's comfort. You didn't come this far to start negotiating your anointing. You came this far to walk in it, fully, without apology, without delay, without needing confirmation from people who were never assigned to recognize you. You've grown past the need to be understood. That's maturity. You no longer panic in silence. That's trust. You no longer question your worth when doors shut. That's discernment. You no longer beg for the platform because now you know you are the altar. The fire doesn't fall because of your image, it falls because of your sacrifice. And now, because you've walked through all of this, you are prepared for what others will face. You will become the voice you never had, the hand you never received, the shelter you never found. And when others cry out in silence, God will send you, because you carry what they need: presence, weight, wisdom, and fire. This is what it means to be marked. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency, about obedience when no one's watching, about staying low so he can lift you in his timing. And now, he is lifting you not to elevate your name, but to expand your reach. You are being positioned to carry the glory, not for personal gain, but to intercept darkness and deliver light. What you carry will not just inspire, it will transform, not because of eloquence, but because of oil, not because of charisma, but because of consecration, not because of your ability, but because of your availability. You've learned to say yes without conditions. You've learned to follow without maps. You've learned to trust without proof. And now, what heaven poured into you in the dark will begin to pour out through you in the open, not to perform, but to heal, not to impress, but to deliver, not to collect attention, but to release glory. You are not who you used to be. That old version of you, the unsure, the afraid, the hesitant version, that version was buried in the process, and what has emerged is a vessel fit for the fire. This is why you've been preserved, why you've been pressed, why you've been set apart. Because now, God can trust you with impact that echoes through eternity. Chosen one, There's a stillness that comes when you finally accept who you are. When you stop fighting the call, when you stop asking for another sign and start walking like the sign, you are no longer in search of permission. You're no longer pleading with heaven to qualify you, because you've finally realized you've already been chosen. This identity isn't fragile. It's not based on how many people agree with you or validate you. It's not rooted in how much support you have, how visible you are, or how together your life appears. No, this identity is built on covenant, and covenant doesn't shake when the storm hits. Covenant stands. You were born into a world that tried to bury your crown beneath insecurity, trauma, busyness, and religion. But your crown never left. You just forgot where to find it. The wilderness didn't steal it. The warfare didn't disqualify it. And the waiting didn't delay it. It was preserved until you were ready to carry it. And now you are. Not perfect. Not without fear. But ready. Because now, you know that being chosen doesn't mean being comfortable. It means being committed. Committed to walking in truth, even when it costs. Committed to standing for righteousness when the world mocks. Committed to carrying light into places that haven't seen it in years. You don't fear the darkness anymore. You disrupt it. You don't just carry faith. You wield it. You don't just quote scripture. You embody it. You've become a living contradiction to what the enemy planned. He thought you'd break. You built. He thought you'd quit. You kept showing up. He thought you'd forget who you are. You remembered. And now, everything changes. Because there is a kind of authority that only comes after the crushing, a kind of depth that only comes through the pressing, a kind of anointing that cannot be borrowed or faked. You carry that kind now. That's why when you speak, it lands differently. Why your prayers feel weightier. Why your tears hit deeper. Why your walk feels anchored. Because you're not doing this out of emotion. You're walking in revelation. And the truth of who you are is no longer something you're discovering, it's something you're declaring. You're not second-guessing anymore. You're not checking for approval. You've been affirmed by fire, by trial, by every test. You didn't think you'd survive, but did. You survived betrayal that tried to destroy your trust. You survived warfare that tried to rob your mind. You survived silence that tried to convince you God had left, and now you stand. Not as someone who made it through, untouched, but as someone who came out marked with power. Your scars are your scrolls. Your story is your sword. And this world has no idea what's about to be released through you. You've already seen glimpses of it, people being drawn to your presence without explanation. Environments shifting when you walk in. Moments where the Holy Spirit speaks through you and you don't even realize it until after. That's not coincidence. That's not personality. That's mantle. You've stepped into divine function. And divine function doesn't wait for comfort, it moves with conviction. You know now that God doesn't need perfect vessels. He needs willing ones. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be aligned. And you are. Every yes you've whispered. Every night you chose prayer over quitting. Every time you worshipped in pain. All of it added up to this moment. This is what heaven has been building in you. This is what the process has prepared. This is what the silence was shaping. You are not entering this next chapter empty. You're entering armed. Armed with wisdom, purity, discernment, intercession, fire, and authority. Not borrowed authority. Not learned behavior, but earned authority. Authority rooted in the blood you spilled in the Spirit. Authority carved into your bones by the word that refused to let you die. You are no longer a seed. You are the fruit. No longer hidden. No longer hesitating. No longer haunted by who you used to be. You are marked. And you are moving forward, not just for you, but for everyone attached to your obedience. There are destinies tied to your courage, nations tied to your prayers, chains waiting for your voice, revival waiting for your steps. You don't need to explain yourself. You just need to walk, because when a chosen one accepts the mantle, everything shifts. And now, you accept it fully. You were born for this. Chosen one. If you made it this far, this wasn't just another video. This was a divine appointment. Heaven didn't just send a message. Heaven confirmed a mantle. And now, something in your spirit is standing taller, stronger, steadier. You're not who you were when this began. You're walking differently, thinking differently, speaking with clarity, burning with purpose, because now you know you've been marked, set apart, sealed, and the world won't be the same because you chose to say yes. There's still more to be revealed, more to be built, more to be carried, but you're not alone, and you are not empty. You've been filled with fire, and the same God who called you is the same, one who will keep you. If this entire word confirmed your identity, shook your spirit, or even brought you to tears, don't let it pass like a moment. Like this message, so others can feel what you just did. Share it. Someone in your circle is silently waiting for this exact confirmation. Comment below. Don't just consume the word, respond to it. Say, I receive every word. Or drop the fire emoji if something lit your spirit. Let the algorithm work for the kingdom. And above all, subscribe if you haven't. This isn't entertainment. It's equipping. Stay connected to the flow of revelation. Stay positioned in the movement God is building through the hidden ones, through the marked ones, through people just like you. You are chosen. You are covered. And you are ready. This is only the beginning.